South Texas, red dirt country, big whitetails, McWhorter custom rifles. There's no better combination.
McWhorter Custom Rifles presents.
Well, that's about it. The finishing touches on our producer Seth Johnson's 7 PRC are done. He's headed to South Texas this week. He's gonna come pick this gun up tomorrow. We just trued it all the way out to 1,000 yards. He's ready to go. He doesn't have any excuses, and I think those South Texas bucks are in trouble.
Precision Hunting TV is brought to you by McWhorter Custom Rifles, Zeiss Hunting, McMillan Fiberglass Stocks, Hornady Ammunition, Great Horizon Ranch, Rack 'em Up Roasted Feeds, and Borden Accuracy.
So it's the beginning of rifle season and I'm headed to South Texas. My good friend Dallas Poe and his dad are going to join me to go out to the G4 Ranch outside of Pearsall, Texas. Now the G4 Ranch is privately owned. It's a cattle ranch, it's a working ranch, but they are not MLD managed. So that means you have to abide by the state regulations as far as regular rifle season. The first weekend in November is always the opening of rifle season, and we had it booked, so we were going to be the first ones on this ranch with rifles in hand. All right guys, it's rifle season in South Texas. I've been looking forward to this hunt all year. We're going to the G4 Ranch just outside of Pearsall. We're hunting with Just Be Real Outfitters. The weather is right, temperature has dropped about 20 degrees. Hoping it gets these deer on their feet. We're gonna have a great time. So we arrived at the ranch on the opening day of season. We all had to fly in and drive in. We didn't get there till about lunchtime. So we had a couple of hours to shoot before we went out for the first afternoon hunt. For my hunt, I was going to be shooting my McWhorter 7 PRC. This gun is built on a Borden Action, McMillan Peak 2.0 stock, Brooks barrel, Zeiss LRP S3, and it's low developed with 175 grain ELDXs. I also brought my McWhorter 6.5 PRC. It's built on a Peak 2.0 as well, and it's topped with a Zeiss Z4. So Dallas was going to be hunting with my 6.5 PRC and I was going to be hunting my 7 PRC. We both had our mindset on shooting like 160 class deer because this ranch, it was intensely managed and there were some big bucks. And because they had not been hunted, there was no pressure, we felt like we had a really good chance at taking big bucks at the beginning of season. So my guide Chris and I, we were going to go to this big open food plot, and Dallas and his guide, they were going to go to another spot on the other side of the ranch that was a feeder in a more open field area. I immediately know the potential of this ranch. Within the first hour, we had does, young bucks, mature bucks, and then the big boys started to step out. Now, the first afternoon, there were a couple of deer that really piqued my interest, but not quite what I was looking for. I had my mind set on like a 160, 170 class whitetail, and one particular deer, he walked up to this barbed wire fence, stood at it, and he jumped over into the food plot and man, he really piqued my interest. Big, pretty 10-point. He was easily a 150 class. Now that I look at him, he was probably touching 160. But first day, I listened to my guide. I knew there was big potential on this ranch, so we decided to pass. Another great deer walked out, and he was a huge, big, heavy, dark horn 8-point, probably pushing 150. And for Texas, 150 class 8-point is special. Guys, I've shot big 8-points in the past, so this one was not something that I was interested in, but I knew if I told Dallas about him, it might pique his interest. So meanwhile, Dallas is on the other side of the ranch, and he's got some deer all over him, and out walks this great, real beautiful, wide, 170 class deer, and he's got a drop tine. And about the time they decide that they're going to shoot that deer and they're trying to get the gun out the window, something spooks and the deer just all scattered and the field clears, and that deer is running away.
This segment of Precision Hunting TV is brought to you by Borden Accuracy, makers of the most accurate custom hunting actions on the market. Manufactured in the USA to true bench rest tolerances. Borden Accuracy equals success.
Morning number 1 here in Pearsall. Feels great this morning, about 50 degrees. A little slight overcast, breezy morning. We had a front come in yesterday, pushed out. They're calling for rain again later today, so we're hoping we can try to get something done today. But we had a great afternoon yesterday. I saw some good deer. Dallas and his dad, Lance, we all saw great deer. So we're gonna see what the morning holds. Maybe find one of these big old South Texas brush country bucks. So Dallas and his guide got into the blind well before daylight. They got settled in, and as it happens sometimes in Texas, all your deer come out there before there's enough light. And sure enough, as the sun came up, they could tell one of the deer out there was the target buck they were looking for that they had saw the afternoon before. Dallas's guide finally told him there's enough light in the camera. He got out there, he turned broadside, he got the McWhirter 6.5 PRC out the window. Squeezed the trigger and he made a perfect shot. He probably didn't go 30 yards and he piled up right behind that big oak tree.
Cannot believe that deer came back, baby. Gosh, we saw this deer yesterday afternoon, couldn't make it happen, and had a sleepless night last night worrying if we could see this deer again. And he came out with another buck right at daylight. We weren't sure if that was him or not. Had to wait and get a little bit more light, camera light, and sure enough it was him, and we didn't waste no time this time. We got him, I think, don't you? I can't wait to go see him.
Go see him.
So meanwhile, on the other side of the ranch, I'm hunting with my guide, Chris, and we're hunting a whole new, entirely different blind setup. And we're trying to look at some different deer. We had some does and some young bucks and some mature bucks all over us, but one specific deer that walked out piqued my interest right away. He had a big, heavy, massive frame on him, and he carried that mass all the way out on his main beams. He had real long 2s and 3s and 4s, just a classic 10-point. I got to lay my eyes on him for about maybe 30 seconds, and he went right back into the brush. And I said, Chris, have you ever seen that deer? And he said, I don't know what deer that is. So we spent the next 30 minutes hoping he would come back out. We're all turned around, all looking the other direction at some deer, and next thing you know, he pops right back out on the sendero behind us, and he's headed in our direction. As we're clambering, trying to get set, he goes right back into the brush, but he's heading in a direction that will send him right directly beside our blind. And he said, just sit still because he's gonna walk right by us and come out and try to go into this open field beside us. So the buck makes his way out into this open field. He finally settles and turns broadside. I got the McWhorter 7 PRC out the window. He's under the tree. He's down right over there behind that tree.
Nice shot, nice shot.
Thanks, man. What a pretty buck. Perfect shot. He reared up, made it about probably 15 or 20 yards and fell over, and I had this big, heavy horned South Texas buck. I was ready to go put my hands on him. So as typical TV happens, we're sitting there in the blind, doing all our stuff that we need to do, and out walks this big tank of a South Texas black hog. And Chris looks at me and says, we shoot every one of those we see here. If you don't take your gun and shoot him, I'm going to. So I obliged.
Precision Hunting TV is also brought to you by McWhorter True Precision Long Range Hunting and Shooting School, Atlas Development Group, Brooks Barrels, and Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. This segment is brought to you by Atlas Development Group, makers of the finest premium rifle cartridge cases on the market. Proudly made in the USA. Our stringent manufacturing process and raw materials yield superior results.
So our first morning hunt, 2 great bucks on the ground. We probably shot 10 minutes from each other. See a deer.
I see a horn.
Look at the mass on that thing. What a pretty buck. Oh man. Look at that. Look at that. What a morning in South Texas, guys. We're here at the G4 Ranch. My guide, Chris 4. We went out this morning. We're gonna try a different blind. And we had deer all over us, 25, 30 plus deer. And this guy came out, when I first laid eyes on him and I saw that, all these tines going forward and all this character and mass for days, he tripped my trigger. So Chris, how old's that one? When he gave me the green light, took me about 2 seconds to get the 7 PRC out the window, but I absolutely love hunting South Texas. I'll do it as long as I can. I can't thank you enough, Chris. This has been an incredible hunt. As we're getting ready, we just got word that our buddy Dallas has pulled the trigger on the old drop tine buck.
Got one. Came back out for me this morning.
So we're gonna load this buck up and see if we can't go find him.
Holy cow.
So was it well worth the wait?
It was worth the wait, man. This thing is bigger than I could have ever dreamed of.
I mean, what a beautiful buck. Well, Jake, you did a heck of a job guiding and running the camera this morning.
Appreciate it. Yeah, he put me on a monster.
I'm happy for you, buddy.
Me too. Me too. Awesome.
Welcome back, folks. Today I'm going to talk about two of my favorite hunting bullets. They're both made by Hornady, and one is an ELDX and one is an ELDM. And though one is touted as a match bullet, we have used it extensively hunting and it's done an amazing job. So these two bullets here are really an improvement over earlier Hornady bullets. The ELDX is basically the old SST bullet, but with some improvements. It's got an acetyl tip, which resists heat. Hornady found out through Doppler radar that the old polymer tips were actually melting. So they replaced the tips on both these bullets with the acetyl tips. And the ELDX actually has an interlock ring. It's got a 50+ thousandths jacket, which is thicker than the M, and it does great on big game with deep penetration. The M on the other hand has got a 25 thousandths jacket, still got the acetyl tip, and it has a more explosive reaction on deer. It still is a cup and core bullet. It goes in 3 to 5 inches before it opens, but I've killed deer aoudad from 100 out to 900 yards, and I'm real satisfied with the performance of that bullet as well. Both of these are 7mm. The ELDM has a BC of 401, a G7 BC of 401, which is off the charts. The ELDX has a BC of .347, which is still very, very high. These are two of our favorite bullets. We offer them in pretty much every custom rifle that we do. We'll load either one of these that you want to, or another bullet choice, but these are my choice for best performance on game bullets that we currently do at McWhorter Custom Rifles. And that's your True Precision Tip of the Week, brought to you by Allen and McWhorter Custom Rifles.
Precision Hunting TV is also brought to you by Leophoto USA, Trigger Tech, Hawkins Precision, Armageddon Gear, Mesquite Creek Taxidermy, Hell's Canyon Barrels, Gun Foam, Boyd Harness Company, and Metal Spinning Targets. This segment is brought to you by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, real Texas barbecue.
So here we are, it's day 2 of our hunt. We've got 2 bucks down, we've got plenty of time left to hunt. Dallas's dad had come along on the hunt with us, and he said if Dallas shoots a deer and there's some extra time, I might go shoot a deer. So we talked him into grabbing my 6.5 PRC and going. I told Dallas, I said, hey, we got some more time, you can take my 7 PRC, we can go hunt something. He said, well, what do you think we should go after? I said, guess what? I know where a big old chocolate horn 8-point lives. It didn't take much to twist his arm.
All right, guys, we're back out here this afternoon. We had a really good morning hunt. Me and Seth both got one this morning. So I grabbed Seth's 7 PRC to come back out here, maybe do a little management hunting, see if we see a hog, something like that. And we've already got deer covered up. We've been here 10 minutes and they're everywhere, so we're gonna get settled in and see what happens.
He wasn't showing, and the next thing you know, here he comes. He walks out into the food plot, turns broadside. I asked him, said, what do you think? He said, yeah, he's going home with me. He got the 7 PRC out the window. Lined up crosshairs, made a perfect shot, and here you go, Dallas has 2 South Texas bucks on the ground.
Gosh, what a day, man. Had an awesome hunt this morning, killed a good deer, decided to come on a little management hunt this afternoon. Seth hunted this spot yesterday, saw this big 8-pointer and said, Dallas, you need to get in there and hunt this deer. He's a giant. Just Be Real Outfitters at G4 Ranch. This place is awesome. I mean, absolutely awesome. We've had a lot of big deer hit the dirt today.
So it's the last day of our hunt, and Dallas's dad, Lance, it's finally for his turn to pull the trigger. He had been a little bit selective on this hunt, but you know, he was looking for the right deer, and he was wanting something that had like a drop tine or something like that. And there was one deer that they had several trail cam pictures of. It had 2 little drop tines on one side. And they went to this blind trying to find that specific deer. So he makes his way out and he's headed to the feeder. There's some does in that area. The buck goes over, checks the does, nudges them, and he's moving around in and out. He finally turns broadside. Lance gets the 6.5 PRC settled on his shoulder. Squeezes the trigger, and Lance has his big South Texas buck on the ground.
I'm gonna find that baby. He didn't go 50 yards, I don't guess. He piled up. I tell you what, he's got 2 drop tines on this one side little. When I seen him, I told him, I said, that's him, that's the one I want right there. Yeah.
So another great hunt in South Texas. The guys at the G4 Ranch really put us on some deer. It's intensely managed. They don't shoot a whole lot of animals on here. They let them get the right age, and it shows. Can't thank Ryan Ringelstein enough for introducing us to these guys. Another great hunt with good friends in South Texas. I can't wait till next year.